What's up?
Number 20, Argumentum ad Mysterium. Oh shit. This one is like my favorite.
Right. Argumentum ad Mysterium. The argument from mystery. Also Mystagogy. Well, I'm not sure how they say that one. A darkened chamber, incense, chanting or drumming, bowing and kneeling, special robes or headgear, holy rituals, and massed voices reciting sacred mysteries in an unknown tongue have a quasi-hypnotic effect and can often persuade more strongly than any logical argument. The Puritan Reformation was in large part a rejection of this fallacy. We used knowingly and deliberately this fallacy is particularly vicious and accounts for some of the fearsome persuasive power of cults. An example of argument ad mysterium is the quote, long ago and far away fallacy. The facts, evidence, practices, or arguments from ancient times, distant lands, and or exotic cultures seem to acquire a special gravitas or ethos simply because of their antiquity, language, or origin. Example, publicly chanting holy scriptures in their original, most often incomprehensible ancient languages, preferring the Greek, Latin, Assyrian, or Old Slavonic Christian liturgies over their vernacular versions, or using classic or newly invented Greek and Latin names for fallacies in order to support their validity. See also esoteric knowledge. An obverse of the argumentum ad mysterium is the standard version fallacy. I'm not sure I'm grasping this one. It's there. It seems to. I thought I was honing in on it, and then I think I've lost it. Can you help me understand this one a little bit better? You said it's your favorite, so I'm curious, like, what this means to you.
If I were to sum up all fallacies, I would just say they are all non sequiturs. However, this one, I'm not sure I could say is non sequitur. I feel like this one is the most unique. It's because fallacies are kind of like tricks in the brain. And what's special about this one is that by reading Bible, Quran, Book of Mormon, or going to a church or synagogue or what have you, um, convinces you that because I don't understand something, it's almost like alphabet soup. That was one we had, right?
Yep.
Alphabet soup, where it's like because I don't understand something, there must be something to understand. And it's this mysterious feeling that like, well, all of these rhythmic chantings and these feelings and smells, even with the incense, all the things that are triggering different senses and uh, music is a big one. Just like that rhythm, because even when it comes to music or storytelling, um, the brain craves that. That's like food and sex, the same part of the brain that lights up music and all those things also trigger that. And it's this feeling of like I need this. It's you could argue it's an addiction, but no, you could be addicted by it, but not necessarily. But it is something the brain craves. You need it, and people will think that it's more correct. Now, this isn't exclusive to churches. If you go to any concert and like people, like everyone knows the song and they're all like, chanting and singing the song together, it's this powerful feeling of belonging. And hopefully the song doesn't have like, and also you should kill people in it too. So like it would cause you to do bad things. But if there was an argument in the song, that it can be powerful enough to convince you that that message is true. That normally doesn't happen at an Imagine Dragons concert, but you know what I mean. Um, that's the only concert I went to. Um, let's see. Oh my gosh. This is a big one. Uh, I haven't been to one, but I suspect when I go to um Tony Robbins event, this one is the one for that one. If anyone, not because Tony Robbins doesn't say things that aren't correct, because I'm sure he does, but let's say someone was on stage saying things that were false, but it was in the same environment, same energy, people would walk away from that with the wow, that must be true. It's not true just because of that environment. That's Argumentum ad Mysterium. We could take it even further.
Are you saying this is mostly environment based?
Not that's one of it. Um, it's it's a lot of little things that add up, and the more that you have, um, the more convincing it can be. Now, as artists, because Alan, you like to do music, uh, almost gentlemen. Do you guys still are you a thing? No, okay. Do you want to say what that
Eric,
is?
though, so I was a part of a cover band for 7 years called Almost Gentlemen, and I was the lead singer and the keyboardist for it. Eric, who is the lead guitarist of that group, he now has his own band that he's the lead singer and guitarist for, which is super cool to watch him do. He was playing at I think he's playing at some show that I saw a video of on his Instagram, which was amazing. But yeah, he goes by in that band. I think the name he goes by in that band is Snow Ellett, but he's yeah, that's the almost shaman thing.
Wait. So, as artists, it is not possible for us to accidentally use this one. I'm a storyteller, and just because I told the story doesn't mean the story is true. Or like not that the events actually happened, but that the message in the story is the correct message. This one
Mm,
is essentially impossible not to commit. If you're listen to any kind of music, any movie, any storytelling, even
got
just
it.
simple conversating, this is not
Got it. So it's
possible
like
to avoid.
atmosphere.
You could say that. That's
Yeah,
one of them.
because well, it's like well, I'm looking at I'm rereading it. I'm listening to what you're saying, and it's like what seems to be the common thread through all the pieces. Like example, it says a
But
darkened chamber, incense, chanting, drumming. It's like all of that makes up atmosphere. So is this like because an atmosphere suggests one thing, like everything within the atmosphere is like deemed as correct or right? Is that what it is?
that's one part of it. That is a
Okay.
part of it, but that's not the whole thing. Um, it's again, if you read the very top, argument from mystery, anything that we find mysterious. So if someone reads a Bible, just reading the Bible and saying that it's true just because it fucking says so, well, that's actually argumentum. It's argument from authority, but uh, not just because it said so, but because we have this understanding the Bible is so old and ancient, and there's all these very interesting origins for everything that's within it. That part is the Mysterium, Argumentum ad Mysterium. It's not true just because it's old and interesting, especially the King James version. I've been reading not all of them, but like several different Bibles all at once. One of them is King James. King James is so fucking weird. Like just definitely the odd one out of all of them. Um, they use very old English, so like theys and thys and these and thous. And I feel like this is a big reason why, if not the reason why, that so many people are like King James is the only correct one just because it has that. It's
Mm,
basically the same thing, but because they have this feeling of this Shakespearean,
yeah, 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 yeah.
artistry to it, that they're like, this must be the word of God. Because of course he would speak like Shakespeare.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, so another thing I'm hearing there is like it's appealing to the feeling or the sensation of mystery.
essentially, yeah. And it's
Yeah.
argument from mystery, but like again, it you could take this one further to essentially argue just any art
Yeah.
that and I've read this one with a lot of friends who are artists, and they have trouble thinking like, well, I can't not commit this one. Like, this is not possible to not commit as artists.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, because I think part of creating art of any kind, and I would argue that even like me doing like seminars is an art, because it's like I'm not saying the same thing every time. I'm not doing the same thing every time. There is a structure, but it's not like there's a formula that I'm like 100% adhering to without any deviation. So it's like there's the reason that I do that is so that it can be left up for like it's almost a sense being like hopefully tailored to the people that are there at that time in that moment, but leaving up for their interpretation to be able to get whatever they're supposed to get out of it in that moment. And it's like if I think like as an example, like um if I'm making a song, like you two people can listen to the same song and receive completely different bits and pieces of breakthrough, emotional release, resonance, whatever you want to call it. Um, and I think that's part of the beauty of art is that it can touch people's lives where they are, um, regardless of what they're dealing with. I think that ambiguity helps, yeah, with like the beauty of the human experience.
Unfortunately, yeah, this one is not possible to not commit if you are an artist. I mean, you could go your entire life without art, but I would rather just die. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so since we are forced to use this one by definition of being artists, it's incredibly important that we are responsible with our messages. Alan and I, years ago, were writing a script for an idea for a movie that Alan had, and it's called
Mm.
Grind, and it's still on the shelf. I don't know if we'll ever do it one day, but um, in that, I remember one of the conversations that I had with Alan because we were really discussing getting down to like what is the message that we're giving to people, and we weren't certain if it was the right message. And one of the conversations was like, we need to be sure that our morals are in the correct spot for
Yeah.
this because we cannot, it would be, um, I would argue, damaging to humanity to create a piece of art with the wrong message and have people take away from that something that ought not to be lived by. And so we just got to be sure of whatever that message is.
Mm.
I think that goes for the rest of what we do as artists. That um,
But what would define, so the thing that I kind of like you mentioned there, you emphasize the word wrong. It's like the wrong message. And it's like, I mean, I think what feels to me more accurate is that we both looked at the messages that we were coming up with and neither of us believed in them. We're like, we don't believe in this. Because it's like, if you tested out the messages that were coming through, it's like, I don't stand behind that. I don't stand behind that. I don't stand
yeah,
behind that. But it's like, there might be a message that example, like some people like yeah, I think this is a really real example. Like some people really need to fucking hate their parents before they can love them. And if you try to convince someone that they need to love their parents despite what they've done, that will increase their quality of life before hating them, like fully going for it and just being like, screw them for everything. They're the worst thing that ever happened to me. I think that I think you physically couldn't do it. is it the right message to say, fuck mom and dad, nah. No, I don't think so, but maybe for someone
Sometimes
like they got to, yeah, they got to hear that. Like the Shinedown song. Second chance. What is it? Sometimes goodbye is a second chance. The whole song is about leaving home. Tell my mother, tell my brother, I did the best I can to make them realize this is my life. I hope they understand. It's a goodbye song. And it's like, you know, I think that, I don't know. I want to challenge the word wrong because it's like, I don't know if it's a good thing to start talking about right or wrong message.
there are, when I say wrong message, I have seen some movies, almost all movies, I would say have like a arguably good lesson to learn from it.
Yeah.
Very occasionally, and I'm going to say like maybe 2 or even like 1% of feature films that I've seen uh, will say something that is like objectively a fallacy. That like I know this is the wrong message to send to the public, and
Hmm.
oh, it hurts deep down. Probably the most successful one that I know of is Life of Pi. I love that movie, but the message is a fallacy.
I can't remember what the message was. I remember liking the movie, but I can't remember the message.
The movie's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's this is actually like the pinnacle example of Argumentum at Mysteriam in the wrong context.
Okay.
Um, at the beginning of the movie, uh, it's this Indian guy named Pi, and he's being interviewed by someone who is American, I think. And the American is atheist, and Pi is like, I'm gonna share with you a story, and by the end of it, you will be convinced that God exists. And he's like, try me. So they go through the whole movie, and then by the end, uh, well, 2 major fallacies occur. So it is important to mention the first one. The first one is a misrepresentation of science. They kind of essentially say that like in within bits and pieces of the movie that since science can't explain everything, therefore it's unreliable. I have a problem with that. But um, it's a straw man of science. So that's the
Hmm.
fallacy. So they make a straw man of science, and then at the end of the movie, they say, "So this was Pi's story. It was an extraordinary story, or he told a realistic version of the story that was incredibly boring, and no one was around to have evidence for it. It's all anecdotal, and so you essentially just have to choose to believe which story is true." And he argued that whichever story you like the most ought to be the one to be believed. And that is why you should believe in God. And that is argument from consequence fallacy. The whole fucking movie is arguing for using argument from consequence, believing whatever you want because it's the better story, not because it's accurate. And people walked away from that being like, wow, I feel these things. I had a friend who I watched with that movie who was atheist, and then she was like, wow, I never thought of it that way. And I'm like, dude, it's a fallacy. I had to explain the fallacy. And then she's like, oh, no, yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That convinced her momentarily. That's not okay. You cannot do that to people. I still love the movie though, but oh man, that it's built upon a fallacy really bothers me.
Hmm.
Multiple actually, but
Interesting.
yeah.
To me, it's like I genuinely, for me, I look at it like there are a couple of movies, like example, a movie that uh, a director that I'm not a big fan of the films that he puts out is what's his name? M. Night
You're about
Shyamalan.
to, oh, yeah, that's okay. I was gonna
Well,
say if you're about to say Tim Burton, I'll be
No,
very
because
disappointed.
no, because a lot of the like a lot of the movies that I see from him, he takes these he'll take otherwise like mm,
He destroyed
he'll
Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like,
yeah, but he'll
it's
take otherwise like things that I think are good things, and he'll intentionally like incite like terror, disgust, and like fear around concepts that are very good concepts. Like example, he recently put a movie out that was uh it was about because like in the world right now, I would argue that there's a like a huge like the rave culture or like music festivals are becoming increasingly more popular and increasingly more of a thing. And I think they do nothing but good things for humanity, personally. Like, yes, there's a lot of drugs, and yes, there's a lot of stuff that's not good there. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a perfect place, but I will tell you that like if you have any judgments about humanity and you attend a music festival and you immerse yourself in that environment, it's difficult to hold a lot of judgment for people because it's like it's just people doing their thing, you know? And it's a really beautiful environment. And he recently put out a movie right along, you know, this upswing of music festival attendance. This movie about a guy who's in a music concert and he's a serial killer. And the whole thing was a setup to try to capture him. And what the whole movie does is it installs a feeling for the viewer, a feeling of paranoia around attending concerts. And to me, it's like, oh my God, that is such a horrible thing you could do. Like, oh, just let's try to install the idea into humanity. Don't gather with other humans around something that you like and enjoy for mutual enjoyment. Don't do that. I want you to feel weird about that. I want to install something in your subconscious about that. You
Here's
know, I
what was
think
it? What was the reason in the movie? Was it COVID or like what was it? What
no,
like there was no valid reason?
no. It was that the main character of the film was a serial killer, and the
Oh,
concert
that's
was
right.
a setup. Yeah, it was like peak. It was exercising peak paranoia for anybody who attends a concert ever. And I
That's
was just
bad.
like,
That is a bad
yeah,
message.
yeah. It's just like it was so harmful. But it's like, but even though I really strongly disagree with that message, and I would not encourage anyone to go watch it, just because of the message itself. It's like you don't why would you ever want to install even a sliver of paranoia in your brain when you're out being free? Like no. To me, it's still I'm like, who gives a fuck? Because the truth is, I'm not gonna sit here and that movie, especially 10 years from now, 5 years from now, a year from now, I'm never gonna remember it. I'm never gonna care about it. It's gonna be just like Facebook. It's like if I make a post today, that post is out of people's minds in 48 hours. It's gone. And it's like for me, it's like I hear that, but it's also there's the other side of the argument for me, which is like life goes on. Like if people are gonna make stuff with bad messages, I think if we I think if I were to if I were to start a war against people making art with bad messages based off of my interpretation of it, because there might be someone who believes it's a great message to not go to concerts. Um, it's like it'll like human beings are pretty resilient and pretty smart, and they have a lot more in their psyche to contribute to what they believe in life than a single post or a single movie. I'm curious for your thoughts on that one.
Oh, on my faith in humanity. Is that
No, just like on like for me it was more about like bad like being believing that bad art significantly impacts humanity in a bad way. And me being like I don't think it actually hurts that much. That's my position is I don't think bad art with bad messages harms humanity all that much. Is my thought.
I would hope that that would be the case. It
I see
might
what you're
be.
saying.
Um, but if I was not there with my best friend, uh, walking away from Life of Pi, that would have convinced her subconscious that that's absolutely true. And like the longer that she thought that that was true, the harder it would ever be for her to step out of that being a valid reason. Again,
for,
I,
for God
I,
existing.
if God exists, I would be happy to say so. But you should not have a fallacy built upon your beliefs for believing anything, especially God. There should be reason to believe that if there is. And actually, I would argue that this is actually one of the most influential because every church ever is dependent upon this fallacy working. And almost everyone in the world is theist for completely different religions. In the United States, there's over 40,000 different denominations of Christianity alone. They cannot all be correct because of the second law of logic. Um, this one can be used in a very good way. There's a lot of great movies and songs that have very positive messages. Um, but uh, there's too much evidence against to show that this is more beneficial than not. I think this one is used. Almost all the fallacies are not used deliberately. I wouldn't say this one is either, but it's definitely one of the most, if not the most convincing, because it's very hard to use language to debunk this one. A lot of people will say, "Well, I God or something is true because I feel it to be true." Okay, how am I supposed to debunk that? Am I supposed to read them this list? Do they have the patience to get through this master list of logical fallacies? Most people don't. So unless you have an open mind to hearing the contrary, like Alan has admitted, uh, it's an everlasting thought stopper. So, but it's not. But again, I really enjoy this one because it's not possible to not do this one. So you have to be, or not, you have to, you ought to be responsible in the art that you create because it will sway people. We're very pattern recognizing creatures, and we love that music. We love that rhythm.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what I have to say.
And notice, I'm noticing just a general, like a state change in you. Um,
Mm. Well, just because well, because at first I was before I started talking, I thought that's, oh yeah, maybe Alan's right. Maybe a lot of people are smart enough to realize this one is false. And then I'm like, no, wait, almost everyone is religious. And as far as I can see, every argument for God is on this list. I've not heard a single argument from God that is not on this list. And I'm like, oh, no, this is one of the biggest ones. This one's rough. And a lot of people don't know it. So yeah. Um, I would like to say, yeah, don't use this one, but it's not possible. It's not possible to not use this one.
hmm.
And I'm not going to say, if you believe in God, don't make songs about it, because I would fight for your right to do so. But, oh man, good thing most artists are very smart. And yeah, most
I
artists
don't
are
know, but I
very
believe it.
smart.
I don't know if I believe in that. Most like we say,
I mean,
yeah, again,
most artists are
yeah.
smarter than the average person, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I think most of them um, have some level of appreciating philosophy. I'm not a big fan of philosophy myself, but just like they want to argue what's true, and they what I'm saying is most artists spent a great time thinking about what they find to be true. Whether they know if something is true or not is, up to their own journey. But I hope that they have the desire to say the right message. Because at least in Hollywood, I would argue that almost every movie has a non-fallacious, good uh, epiphany that like the character has, and that is the theme of the movie that you can carry with you. Um, because of that, I'm hopeful.
Nice. Shall we continue?
Yeah, sure. That one's just powerful for me. Oh man, is it powerful for you? I'm because this is you cannot not do this one, Alan.
To me, there's like
Even in just storytelling, us talking right now, this live stream, it's not a live
yeah,
stream, it's a video, is Argumentum ad Mysterium. Yes, we're citing the masterlogical fallacies, but our anecdotal evidence, all Argumentum ad Mysterium.
yeah. I'd say it doesn't. It's definitely not impacting me the same way it's impacting you.
Okay.
But it's. I think for me, the reason is that there's to me there's so much to life than beyond this list. And so it's like, yes, like, is this something that's impossible not to quote unquote commit? Um, uh,
I mean,
Potentially.
you could hypothetically not commit it. I'm sure a newborn
Right.
baby that dies on its first day didn't commit this fallacy. Um,
Right.
but
What I'm saying is like, it's like, okay, but then for me, if I'm quote unquote doomed to commit this fallacy, does that all of a sudden make me a fallacious person? Does it make me a a bad person? Does it make me wrong? Does it make my life forfeit? Does it make me a lesser than someone who has found a way not to? Like for me, it's like it's to me, yeah, to me, there's the perspective I come from is there's so much more to life than this list. And so there's so much more that encompasses in life in this list. And so if I'm committing something on it, of course, I want to do my best to mitigate.
yeah,
Um, because I believe the more that I mitigate, the more freedom each person has. A word that you and I talked about before was sovereignty. The more sovereignty each person has to make their own individual decisions about what they're seeing in front of them versus them, just absorbing dogma from somebody else. But that's partially why it's not impacting me as much because I see to me what I feel present to in this moment is a connection to more than just the list and to the idea of, oh,
mhm.
I better not commit it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's no way to not to, and so that's why I'm saying that feel free to use this one because you can't not to. Uh, but just be responsible with it. That's all the message is. You have the power to change people's minds on solely this one alone, and most of these, if not all of them, you have the power to change people's minds, and especially because this one is impossible to not to commit by being artists. We just have a responsibility to do the right thing with this one. But it's okay. Like there are some that's like it's fine. Like one of the ones we already did was like the underdog one, and you're like, but I
Yeah.
really like that one. That one's fine. I don't think that's particularly bad.
But
Um, you know, so
yeah,
it's okay.
yeah.
Just be responsible.
Yeah, it's a lot like nuclear technology. It's like it can be used to level an entire city or it can be used to power an entire city. It's like, it's how
That's
it's
what this
used.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Science is not good or bad. You can be used both ways. You just got to be responsible. All right.
Yeah,
I'm ready. I'm ready to move on.
amazing.